Welcome to episode 21 of the Golf Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lee, and this is the show that brings you interviews with the best and brightest people from around the world who love the game. Join us for a round as we learn about their life, their business, and so much more. Golf is not only about playing this great game, it's about connecting with others, building a network, and getting away from our crazy everyday lives. Man, do we have an absolute incredible show for you today. If you have been keeping up with golf and you've been paying attention to the recent news about the PGA of America, then you know that they have announced that they will be moving their headquarters to Frisco, Texas, a suburb of Dallas and one of the fastest growing areas in the country. What you may not know is there's one person who led the charge and who's instrumental in getting the PGA of America to make this decision. His name is Mark Harrison, and he's the executive director of the North Texas PGA. Man, Mark, I'm so excited to have you on the show. You ready to go?
Yeah, you bet, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's tee it up. Golf Nation, if you thought you've accomplished a lot in your life, then wait till you hear all about Mark. I began reading his bio and I was blown away by what this man has done in life and in the game of golf. He's a native of Australia. He began his lifetime passion for the sport at age 14 when he became a caddy for a professional golf tournament played in his hometown. He worked through local clubs through his graduation at the University of England. He has a Bachelor of Science in Health Sciences with a major in Sports Management. And then at the age 21, he decided to move to the United States and got a Master's of Sports Administration and Facility Management from Ohio University. He began his professional career in tournament administration with the Carolina section, and he joined the North Texas PGA section headquarters in Dallas in 1997 as the Director of Tournament Operations. He ascended to the position of Director of Operations, where he is responsible for the daily operation of both the North Texas section and Junior Golf Foundation. Mark, man, you have just done incredible things, and we're really excited about your career and talk about kind of what led to you coming to the United States. But what most notably you're probably known for is creating the business plan that ultimately convinced the PGA of America to move to Texas. Man, I almost feel inadequate to speak to you because you've done so many amazing things in your life, and I cannot wait to hear all about them.
Oh, mate, no, my pleasure, and it's great to be on the line with you. And yeah, it was a crazy story, and it's funny how if you start something with a lot of passion and you know, something started so small ended up so massive. It was quite the journey, that is for sure.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about that with the PGA and all of the things that kind of led up to that. But I first want to thank Blake Davis for the Long Drive Agency. He connected us, and I know he's doing some things with you guys. And so we talk about that in the intro with the podcast. It's all about connecting each other.
Yeah, for sure. Blake's a great guy, and he's doing some fantastic things with Long Drive Agency, and yeah, they're partners with our new website, and we've got some other things working with them. We're sort of like-minded, so yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's start with a couple things that I noticed in your bio. You are a 4-sport athlete, and I even read that you ran in the New York City Marathon. I mean, that's pretty amazing accomplishments.
Yeah, I don't think I've run since, but yeah, I love playing sports when I was growing up. It's sort of that's a little bit of the culture in Australia. You do a little bit of everything, and I happened to be pretty decent at some of the sports that I played, and but was never great at any one, just pretty good at a lot of them. So loved playing sports, loved the team component of sports, and then when I got connected with golf, you know, I was pretty much hooked straight away. It was just a sport that, you know, I liked a ton because, you know, you could control your own outcome for the most part versus, you know, maybe cricket or rugby or some of the other things that I played where even though, you know, you might have had a good game, ultimately, you don't win. And that's what I love about golf.
Yeah, I do love that part. I mean, it's a single sport, but man, if you take away the team atmosphere, and sometimes we play in team atmosphere with the Ryder Cup and different things like that, Walker Cup. But that's right. If you play well, most likely you're going to win or place. You could play your heart out in a team sport and never win a game.
Yeah, it does. Depends on your coaches and your teammates and everything. And now don't get me wrong, I loved everything about being a part of a team and building that camaraderie, and some of my best friends are still from the sports that I played in high school growing up, for sure. So the team piece has been very, very instrumental in my life, no question, and almost builds into a little bit about what you do day in and day out, running a business like I have here at the Northern Texas PGA. You run it a little bit like a coach. You care about the people that work for you and the people that you serve, and you're just trying to do the absolute best you can day in and day out. So the sports background from a team component growing up, I think, had a massive influence on my life. But yeah, I was lucky to get connected to golf when I was, about 14 or 15, and like I say, just got hooked.
Yeah, it tends to do that. That is for sure. And I always say in an age where we're so addicted to technology, to have a day to just get out on the golf course and spend a couple hours, if you're playing 9 or 4 hours if you're not, and just get away from that just hustle and bustle of the way we live now is just amazing.
I mean, it's one of the great things about the game, if you can just put your phone on silent and play 9 holes, and maybe check your email at the turn or text message or whatever you have going on. But ideally, you don't look at it for 18 holes. I don't know if I've ever hit a good golf shot after checking an email or sending a text, particularly related to work. So, but that's part of the deal too. You serve, in my instance, 850 PGA members, and grow the game through our foundation. You somewhat always need to be available and on call. And I'm somewhat, I could be better at that. I could put my phone down more than I do. You could just ask my wife or my kids. Unfortunately, that's not a strong suit of mine. So, if I can play a round of golf and not look at my email or check text messages or voicemails or whatnot, likelihood of I've played pretty well, I imagine.
It's tough, especially in a guy in your position where you have so many people that depend on you, and you're running a staff, and you're really running an association of a bunch of guys. I mean, you kind of wear a lot of hats, and to kind of pull yourself away from that, sometimes you feel like you're not doing your job, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's only 4 hours, and we should all be able to get away for 4 hours from time to time and unplug. I think I'm a bit older than you, and I definitely remember the day when there was no email and there were no cell phones, and we seemed to function pretty well back then. So, so I think it's one of the things I love about the Masters. Actually, I absolutely love the fact that if you're going to go watch the Masters for a practice round or the tournament itself, you're definitely not bringing in any cell phone device, and it's kind of refreshing. You leave it in your car, and you see what the damage is when you get done for the day or whatnot, and it's truly refreshing. So I love that the Masters keeps that tradition intact. I hope they never change it.
Yeah, well, and 90% of the time, nothing bad has happened. It's just we've become
exactly
so addictive.
yeah, no doubt.
Well, Australia is a pretty amazing place. I mean, I've never visited there myself, but you just have an incredible country full of incredible people. What made you kind of think about coming to the United States, and what kind of led up to that decision?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I went to a university in Australia, the University of New England, and one of my professors had gone to graduate school over here at Ohio University, and it's really well known for its sports administration post-grad degree. It's a very small class every year of maybe 25 to 35 students from literally all over the world, and he had done the same course and suggested that he felt like I might have an opportunity to get in, and so I applied and was fortunate enough to be accepted, and came over here really not knowing anything about the United States or what I was getting myself into. I just knew that it was, if I wanted to sort of make a name for myself and be somewhat successful in the career that I'd chosen, which was golf administration, I wanted to come where it's the biggest and the best and learn. And then my plan was to learn all that I could here through my education and you know, an internship or two, and then head back to Australia and sort of implement what I learned here. But I just never went back. So 27 or so years later, I'm still here, and it's, you know, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So I owe Terry Woods a lot for helping me get that sort of door open there to Ohio University, you know, gosh, almost 3 decades ago.
How often are you able to get back to Australia?
Probably about every 3 years or so. It's another time when you truly unplug, because when you close the door on that Qantas and you take off from DFW, it's about 17 and a half hours direct to Australia, and there's no Wi-Fi or anything. So you're definitely turning your phone off for a little longer than a round of golf. So I kind of like that piece of it too.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that's just to have a chance to kind of read a book or just, you know, just do something different. You know, I read so much on my phone, you know, news feeds and everything. It's like we never watch TV anymore. We just look at our phones for everything. But I love that so much about the game, about getting away from our crazy everyday lives. That's really what we're trying to do with golf. And I think from a promotional standpoint in the game, I would love for us to take down that road a little bit more. Like, really talk about just getting away, enjoy it, you know, a round of golf. That's the kind of marketing that I would like to see continue, because we are so busy.
For sure. I mean, it's just part of who we are and what we do, and the sort of the next generation coming is even more connected than maybe you and I. But I think we can all afford, you know, a couple hours or 4 hours or 5 hours to unplug and enjoy all that the game offers. And, you know, whether it's walking or riding or just being outside. I mean, gosh, there's not too many better places than you know, playing golf with your kids or your friends or even yourself. Just to have the opportunity to be able to do that and completely unplug. It's kind of refreshing and very nice, and I wish we did more of it.
Now, your career has been pretty consistent. You know, you've pretty much stayed with basically 2 associations. You know, how did you get connected with the PGA of America, not as far as becoming a PGA member, but getting into, you know, not becoming a PGA pro, but staying on the executive side, you know, the kind of the administration side of these sections?
Yeah, so I knew I wasn't good enough to play. I kind of figured that out quickly when I was a kid, starting out playing golf. At 14 or 15, there were a lot of pretty good golfers that were a little bit older than me at the club that I belonged to, and that's another story unto itself. But your golf is crazy affordable in Australia and very, very welcoming. And so I've learned quickly that I wasn't good enough to play, but I also, through that caddying opportunity that I had at some pretty big Australian tour events that were played locally in my backyard, I was able to caddy and you know, I noticed all the signs and the ropes and the stakes and the notice to competitors and the, you know, hospitality and all that was sort of going on behind the scenes, and that's when I sort of connected the dots that somebody was running the actual event, and that's when I worked out that maybe that was sort of the path that I wanted to go. So decided not to try and play professionally, and also, you know, didn't really want to go the golf professional route, working at facilities. Really wanted to get more behind the scenes, running events day in and day out for you know, for an association or a specific tournament.
Do you miss tournament? Do you do a lot of tournaments still, or are you pretty much on the business side of things? Yeah,
you know, I do. I still miss it. I mean, that's where I started, and that's, you know, ultimately, I guess my biggest passion is running events. I think I'm still pretty good at it, although if you ask my staff, maybe they would tell you otherwise. But yeah, I love it. It's you know, again, it's sort of you unplug and you concentrate on creating the best event that you possibly can, and all the aspects that go into a wonderful event for either your PGA professionals, or maybe it's the Texas State Open, or maybe it's an All-American Tour event on our junior tour. So yeah, I still love the tournament administration piece of the golf business and miss it at times, but sort of just the natural evolution of you know, my career. do a little bit more day to day and sort of bigger picture business aspects of golf administration these days.
Let's talk about your role there, because now you're executive director of North Texas PGA section. And when we first heard the news about the PGA of America possibly moving to Texas, I think it was premature, and there was a lot of people like, no. And then all of a sudden it came out. And I think a lot of us were just kind of just surprised, I think, those of us who weren't in the know of what was kind of going on. But I read kind of the story of kind of how it all unfolded. And that's what I want to get into next, because this took a very, very long time. This was not a quick decision.
No, it was not a quick decision, and definitely had twists and turns along the way for sure. But I think knowing sort of what we have here in North Texas and how Frisco thinks and how they operate, and then obviously the connection and relationships that I have with the folks at the PGA of America, it was almost a perfect storm. It just took a long time to sort of ultimately get across the finish line to where it was announced. So, I'd love to chat some more about that.
Yeah, so let's go to the beginning. When did this all get started? I know that you were kind of looking at some different facilities for different reasons. Kind of run us through the timeline here, from the beginning to when they actually made the decision. What got you started to think you got to create a new facility?
Really, to be perfectly truthful, Jeremy, we pay rent here at the Northern Texas PGA, and I really don't like paying rent. So we were trying to find a solution to where maybe we could build our own building and partner with a facility to do so. And so that was truly the genesis behind how everything started. We were just looking for some opportunities to maybe partner and do something different and own an asset versus, leasing a building like we do at the moment. So, I was fortunate. We had a little 9-hole golf course here in North Dallas called the North Texas Golf Center, operated by Leah Burst, a PGA member who is just fantastic at what she does. And that's where my kids learned how to play golf, both of them. And that's where we started team golf, which is was vibrant and massive and very, very successful here in Northern Texas, and really was the blueprint for PGA Junior League as we know it now. So super fond of that facility, and it was just so welcoming, and that was one of the things that I loved so much about the North Texas Golf Center. Was didn't matter who you were or how good you were, or if you were a beginner or somebody had been playing for 50 years. There was something there for you. There was a lit driving range, and it was open, from 8 in the morning until probably 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So you'd see all types of different people out there. But really sort of how it started, truthfully, behind the rent piece was, I was reading an article in the Dallas Morning News in 2011, and I was really, really shocked to see just how much the demographics were changing here in North Texas, right here in our backyard. And I just got to thinking, okay, if we're truly trying to grow the game, we need to make the game a little bit more welcoming and more inviting, and particularly with the demographics changing here, how could we do that? So I sort of got my wheels turning a little bit. I think I shared that article in the Dallas Morning News with a few folks here in Northern Texas, and nothing really came of it other than the fact, I just thought we needed to look at some ways to maybe just make the game a little bit more inclusive and welcoming. So
sure.
That's sort of how things got started, and then we took a trip to Tennessee, actually Nashville, for a regional PGA of America meeting. We were just there literally 24 hours. It was myself and our leadership here with the Northern Texas PGA, and I think he was our vice president at the time, or maybe secretary, Tony Martinez, and I took a visit to Golf House, Tennessee, and they've created something super special there just outside of Nashville. sort of the home of golf in Tennessee, from the section to the State Golf Association to the foundation, and all kinds of stuff happens there. And they've got a little 9-hole golf course that is built around Golf House, Tennessee, and it was spectacular. And I kind of thought, well, gosh, if we, if they can do that in Tennessee, maybe we could do something similar in North Texas. So that was sort of the genesis behind trying to create something. And sort of back to the North Texas Golf Center, I was driving there one day, and it wasn't in the best part of town, and I was driving down the street, and on the left there was a sign that said State of Texas $1 million and City of Dallas $1 million, and they were going to build a soccer complex there. And I actually, believe it or not, I took a photo of the sign, Jeremy. I've still got the photo. It's kind of I didn't have a clean windshield, so it's not a very good photo, but nonetheless, you can make out the fact it says State of Texas $1 million, City of Dallas $1 million, and they were building a soccer complex. And I wasn't 100% sure why I took the photo, but maybe 4 or 5 days later, I was driving to another facility, and I saw a similar sign, City of Grand Prairie $3 million, and State of Texas $3 million, and they were building a hike and bike trail. And sort of a light bulb went off with me at that time. I thought, well, gosh, why couldn't we take existing park space and turn it into something that I termed an urban golf park? So taking existing park space and build synthetic grass greens and tees, and just create a golf course that's a little 9-hole, short course that's welcoming and free, and maybe you could come play and bring your dog, or play in flip-flops, or just come play. And
Sure.
So talk to my board about a vision of maybe an urban golf park, and trying to partner with the city, and having a ground lease to where we could build a building, own a building on this park space, and introduce the game of golf to all kinds of different folks. So that was sort of how things got started.
See, I love that, because you took a problem and you made a solution. It wasn't even a problem. It was, I guess it could be a problem if you consider that most people think that golf is only for one class of people. I think that's a big misconception, that people just kind of have that feeling, and it really is more than that, because anybody can play this game and anybody can tee it up. And to create a place where you kind of knock down that barrier and you say, you know what, all's welcome. And I love the fact that you guys were willing to do it for free. Like, you just wanted it to be a place where people could come and learn the game. I just think that's amazing. And I've actually been to the Nashville, to Tennessee Golf.
Oh, nice.
So I lived
Golf House.
Yeah, before I lived in North Carolina, I was based in Kentucky, just about 50 miles north of Nashville. So I spent a lot of time in Nashville just doing different things. And what an unbelievable city that is as well, and a growing city, much like you guys are in Dallas. And I love that you did that thinking about others. You didn't think necessarily about, hey, we just need a new building. You were thinking, hey, how can we grow the game and get a new building? That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it was that really that simple. Again, going back to that article about the demographics changing, the vision for the urban golf park was put in a spot where, there might be baseball fields or soccer fields or softball fields or volleyball going on, to where, maybe if you were there watching, your kids play soccer, and, it was a soccer tournament going on and you had an hour to kill before your next game, maybe you'd come and, play a couple of holes on this urban golf park. So that was sort of and it's so difficult to find land to build, these big new golf courses, taking park space that is already dedicated as such by the cities, and turning them into urban golf parks seemed to me to make some sense. And so in talking with our board, 12 PGA members at the time, said, yeah, I think you might be onto something. And we all went out and visited this park, and they gave me the green light to, keep pursuing it. And actually, it was funny. The very first city that we talked to was the town that I lived in. It's called the town of Addison, and there was some park space dedicated there, and I put together a drawing of this urban golf park, and was all pretty fired up about my pitch. And me and my honorary president at the time, Ronnie Glanton, and our president, Philip Bleakney, we arranged a meeting with the mayor of Addison, and we went and talked to him, and I was pretty ready to go, and thought we were onto something. And the mayor said, "Hey, I really like your idea, but that park space, we're not 100% sure what we're going to do with it, but it's really too valuable to put an urban golf park in there, so thanks, but no thanks." And we walked out of the meeting, and I'll never forget it, because Ronnie Glanton said to me, "Well, that didn't go so well, did it, mate?" And I said, "No, actually, it didn't go how I thought it was going to go, Ronnie. Thanks for letting me know that." And we kind of had a bit of a giggle about that, or a bit of a chuckle. At least they did. I wasn't at the time. And
Right.
yeah, but you really thought that, gosh, we're still onto something here. And then, not long after that, the Byron Nelson announced that they were leaving Irving and moving to Dallas for, the AT&T Byron Nelson, which was just played at Trinity Forest. So I thought, gosh, why don't I just talk to the city of Irving and see if they might have an interest in what we've got going on here. And doing research on Irving, it's actually the most diverse zip code in the United States. So it's an absolute melting pot right there in Irving, all the zip codes. Mm-hmm. And I thought, gosh, back to that article, wouldn't it be great to be able to build an urban golf park right in Irving, which is kind of in the middle of Dallas-Fort Worth. It's right in the middle of the Metroplex. And so I was fortunate enough to one of our PGA members who owns a driving range in Irving and is a longtime resident connected us with, his name's Dan Strimple. He connected me with the, parks and rec manager and some other folks, and we arranged a meeting. And in that meeting, it was fantastic. They said, "Oh, we love your idea. We absolutely love it." They literally said, "Go have a look at these 5 parks, and tell us which one you like the look of, and we'll have another follow-up meeting in a few weeks." So that's what I did. I drove all over Irving and looked at all these parks that were, great. And there was one particular park that stood out, I'd say better than the others, just because it did have a soccer field and a baseball field and a miracle baseball field and a play area for kids. And so and also had some, topography changes. And so when we came back and had our follow-up meeting with them, that was the park we suggested, and we started on down the track with talking to Irving about creating this urban golf park and also this home site for the Northern Texas PGA.
So did that actually happen?
Yeah, no, it didn't. They said, "Hey, we really like your idea, and we would love it if you just partnered with us being the city of Irving." And so at that point in time, I sort of felt like we were onto something. So I went back to my board and said, "Hey, actually the board visited the park just to make sure that I didn't have rocks in my head and we weren't crazy, because certainly it was going to be a little bit different and, maybe a little bit non-traditional, if you may." Mm-hmm. And they were fully supportive. And I said, "Hey, the city of Irving just wants us to engage in conversations with them. I think we might be onto something. I think we probably should just do some due diligence on some other cities." And they said, "Yeah, I think you're right." So I went back to the city of Irving and I said, "Hey, thank you very much for your interest. We are going to just explore some other options with some other cities, and we'll circle back with you." So that's exactly what we did, and we talked to the city of Dallas, city of Richardson, and also the city of Frisco. And, as they say, the rest is history. Once we started talking to Frisco, sort of everything changed. So, yeah.
So at this point in the project, like the PGA of America move to Texas was not even on the table. It wasn't even a thought in your head?
Oh no, not at all. I wasn't even anywhere there. I was just concerned about creating an urban golf park and having a home site for the Northern Texas PGA, and that would have been probably 2014, spring of 2014. I had my first meeting, and then my old boss, a gentleman by the name of Daryl Kroll, who was the chief operating officer for the PGA of America. So I have a really great rapport with him, and certainly without him, there's no chance I would be in the position that I'm in at the moment. So I owe him a ton. So I did just reach out to him after I'd had a couple of visits with the city of Frisco, and I said, hey, we're engaging with the city of Frisco about potentially partnering in this urban golf park concept. And he just said, hey, thanks for keeping me posted. Just keep me up to speed on what how it goes, and sort of wish me well. And so same thing, met with the city of Frisco officials, and same thing. At the first meeting, they identified, I think it was 5 or 6 park spaces that they felt like would be viable options for this urban golf park. And I went and had a look at them, and we had a meeting a couple of weeks after that, maybe 3 weeks after that. Came back and met with them, and they said, hey, we really love your urban golf park idea, but it's a booming city and it's a growing city, and they said we're having a very, very difficult getting access for our high school teams and middle school teams, boys and girls, varsity and JV, access to golf courses to practice. We're thinking about building our own city of Frisco golf course. Would you have an interest in maybe partnering with us to create this golf course? And I said, yeah, heck yeah, we'd love to do that. And so we just started the dialogue, and it continued to be initially an 18-hole golf course with a 9-hole short course. Now the short course is the urban golf park concept, but no longer synthetic grass greens and tees, because of course there was an 18-hole golf course that the city would be maintaining. So it'd be real Bermuda grass greens and tees. So things started to sort of proceed nicely along those lines for probably a year or so. We were headed down that direction, and I reached out, maybe not quite a year, probably 6 months. I was connected with a gentleman who's a resident of the city of Frisco by the name of David Ovard, who has a couple of kids that play in our junior golf tour. They're very, very, very good players. So I knew of David, and I knew his kids. I'd met his kids. And unbeknownst to me at the time, he was sort of working behind the scenes with the residents of Frisco to create a golf course there in Frisco. So Cameron McCormick, who is Jordan Spieth's coach, also teaches David Ovard's kids. So Cameron McCormick connected David and myself. And, we got talking about, the possibility of maybe creating something bigger than just a golf course and a home site for the Northern Texas PGA. And at the time, Jerry Jones, who owns the Cowboys, had just announced that he was moving to Frisco. They were moving their training center there, and they were partnering with the city of Frisco and the Frisco ISD to build this phenomenal practice facility that the Frisco ISD kids could use. And
man, Frisco living the life. They're feeling pretty good about themselves right now.
Yeah, they are. They gosh, they've got double A baseball. They've got the Stars Training Center up there. They've got FC Dallas soccer.
Wow.
I think they've got now they've got the Cowboys. They've got about everything up there from a sports standpoint. And so I reached back out to Daryl and said, "Hey, I think there might be an opportunity. We've got this blank sheet of paper in the sense that we had a lot of land to work with. What do you think? Do you think there could be a chance if Frisco custom built a golf course that was, worthy of hosting championships? Would the PGA of America consider hosting championships in Frisco?" And Daryl said, "Well, we would look at it," and that's exactly what they did. They had a good look at it.
Man, so I'm going to do this timeline. So for all the entrepreneurs who are listening out there, your 5 years, if I'm doing this right, 2011, you get to 2014, you've pretty much you've heard some, wow, I think this is a great idea, but you've heard no's, you've heard, oh yes, we want to be a part, we've heard, I want you to be exclusive to us. Like, there's so many twists and turns, and we're 5 years in and nothing's even been built.
Yeah, no, nothing's been built, and the twists and turns really were just starting. So Kerry Haig, who you'll probably hear his name this week,
sure,
several times with the PGA Championship. He is the Chief Championships Officer for the PGA of America.
Mm-hmm.
Daryl arranged for him to come and visit the site. He came out in 2015, so I guess about 4 or 5 years after I read that article, and started some conversations in maybe 2013 or so with the city of Irving. So we're a good ways into it. And Kerry came out and had a look, and February in Dallas, you can have beautiful days where it's 70 degrees, or you could have some pretty nasty days where it might be 40 degrees and raining. And Daryl had Kerry come out to have a look at the land just to see if he even felt like it was viable. And fortunately enough, on this sort of winter day in February, we had a beautiful day, and Kerry came out, and we jumped in a couple of F-150s, and we drove all over Frisco, including the property, and I think Kerry liked what he saw. So thankfully, if Kerry at that time said, "Hey, this is not going to work, thanks but no thanks," that would have been the end of it. But thankfully, Kerry did like what he had to see that day, so we continued the dialogue. And the PGA of America was really interested in if we were going to build a championship golf course that would be hopefully worthy of hosting championships. They wanted to talk to really about 3 architects. It was Tom Doak, Gil Hance, and Ben Crenshaw.
And so
those
seem to be the top 3 right now, for sure.
Yeah, they were great, and the city said, "Hey, that's good and all, but we need a few more folks, from a bid process for it to be competitive, to make sure that we are, making sure that from a city perspective, we're spending our dollars and cents wisely."
Sure.
So we had 3 additional architects be a part of the process. A gentleman by the name of Bo Welling, who you've heard of now. Also D.A. Wybring, who's a local PGA member here in northern Texas, and I think he's won maybe 13 times on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour. He's a resident here and a golf course designer.
Nice.
So he was a part of the mix. And then a gentleman by the name of Chet Williams, who worked for Jack Nicklaus for many years and has designed a couple of fantastic golf courses here in Texas. So those were the architects. With the exception of Core Crenshaw, they declined an opportunity to bid on the job, just with all that they had going on at Trinity Forest at the time. So
I wonder what led into that decision. Because, I wonder if they thought there's no way that this is happening, or they were just really too busy.
I don't know.
I would say that's one of the biggest projects in golf history, is what's about to unveil. I wonder if they're looking at this now and going, "Oh man, what did we do there?"
Yeah, I don't know. That would be maybe a good question for them. But I think they were so ingrained in everything that was going on at Trinity Forest at the time, and creating something incredibly special and unique down there. I think maybe perhaps they didn't want something that would have their signature on it, so close to Trinity Forest,
that makes sense.
PGA Tour event and things like that. So
sure.
maybe that was the mindset. So so then they started touring the site and putting together the presentations for the city of Frisco and the PGA of America and the Northern Texas PGA, and that happened in the fall of 2015, and they all came in and pitched their concepts, along with obviously a lot of outlines and what were the requirements for the PGA of America for the championship, and including approximate yardage and number of chalets and parking for TV trucks and manufacturer trucks and media centers and all the corporate hospitality and the merchandise tent. And so everything that you see that goes into a PGA Championship on existing courses, which is sometimes very, very constricted just because of the space you have, was all outlined to these architects, and so they worked it all into their presentations, and it ended up being a 36-hole facility with a 9-hole short course, which is the urban golf park again, thankfully, but
Nice.
with real grass, greens, and tees. And the group decided on Gil Hance to do the championship golf course, and then Bo Welling to do the practice course, the short course, the 9-hole short course, and then the second golf course. So, just a fantastic team, and it's going to be an amazing facility. And so that, and the beauty of sort of the Bo Welling piece is that, not too many people knew who Bo Welling is, or was, or is, but he's Tiger Woods. He's Tiger Woods design, I should say. He's not Tiger Woods, but...
did he do Blue Jack National?
Yeah. He did. So he did Blue Jack National.
Gotcha.
And the best, maybe there's lots of good parts of the story, but one of the best parts about the story is we had a board member at the time, a gentleman by the name of Casey Polson, who was the PGA general manager at Vaquero, and Bo was doing a little bit of work for Casey at Vaquero. And when we needed to do schematics for the city of Irving for the urban golf park, Casey connected me to Bo to create the schematics. And so Bo and I talked, and when I talked about the vision of the urban golf park, some sort of holes inspired by, say, 17 at Sawgrass, or 12 at Augusta, or
Sure.
or some of the world's most famous par threes. Bo and his team put together the schematic for us, and we agreed on a price for him to do the schematics. And then he never sent me a bill, and so I emailed him a couple of times and called him and said, "Hey, Bo, would you just send me this bill? I'd like to get you paid." And he said, "Hey, Mark, don't worry about the bill. I like the way you're thinking, and I wish you luck, and I hope that it goes really, really well. This is kind of on us. Good luck."
Wow. And
so when it came around to the architects for Frisco, the guys. The city of Frisco said, "Mark, why don't you round out the architects? The landscape here in Texas." So obviously D.A. Wybring was person number one. Chet Williams was person number two. And, my now good friend Bo Welling was person number three. And really Bo Welling was, person or designer number three, because he never charged us back in the day. So he got a chance to put his name in the hat for this project, and won the job.
Wow, that's incredible. So the urban part of it, will that still be what you dreamed it would be? A free facility for people to come in and play?
I don't think it'll be free,
Okay.
but it'll be accessible, and hopefully it'll definitely be free for high school kids and all the kids
Nice.
that are part of the Frisco ISD, and we'll have pretty significant programming both in school and after school for all the kids within the Frisco ISD. So yes, for kids it'll be free, which was my vision. But for the public or a Frisco resident or whatnot,
Right.
there'll be a fee to play it, but it'll be
good.
very, very nominal. So yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm excited about that.
Well, as you know,
Yeah.
the Cradle was built here at Pinehurst. And I'll be honest with
absolutely.
you, it's one of the most popular golf tracks in the area. This just little par
Yeah, it's
three.
awesome.
And people absolutely love it. And, I love that because you can kind of go out, especially for the new generation who are kind of a top golf kind of generation. They can actually go out there, I think they let them play up to like 6 people at a time. They got servers out there on the golf course. You can drink, you can have some fun. You don't have to be so proper. It's just about having fun playing golf. And so
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
those concepts.
Yeah, they're great. So I know that Bo and Gil are going to work together on creating something that's just off the charts for this short course. That'll be something along the lines of the Cradle, just welcoming and fun to play. And again, I hope that people can come out and play in flip-flops, or I don't know if you'll be able to bring your dog or whatnot, but that was sort of the vision from the start. But
Sure.
yeah, just be someplace that, again, back to the North Texas Golf Center, a place where my kids learn how to play. I'd love it to be something similar to that, where, you know, kids and veterans and the general public and senior citizens and maybe people that want to start golf or have a taste of it for the first time can do so in a welcoming and friendly environment that will be the 9-hole short course. It's actually going to be 10 holes, so I guess it's going to be 46 holes in total. But yeah, so all that was coming along nicely, and it was going to be a pretty big project. And then in the spring of 2017, the PGA of America put out an RFP for the headquarters to move, and I think 200 cities around the country submitted their bids for this opportunity for the PGA of America.
Wow.
To move, which was a lot. Obviously, Frisco put their name in the hat as well. They went to the PGA Championship in 2017 in Charlotte, just so they can see and feel it and see just how big it was. And gosh, so it all continued to move along nicely, and then essentially those finalists got narrowed down to 3 or 4 that ultimately ended up being 2. One being Frisco and one being West Palm Beach. And so the PGA of America and their board of directors did their due diligence along the way for both places. And I'm making it sound a little bit easier than it is, but ultimately the PGA of America and the board of directors voted in 2018 to, I think they voted unanimously to move the PGA of America's headquarters from West Palm Beach to Frisco. So that's all. It's all going to be happening here just in a couple of years. So really, from I guess it would be 2014 was when we first engaged with the city of Frisco. Spring of 2014 through December the 4th of 2018. So what is that? I guess close to 5 years.
Yeah.
Going on 5 years. The city council voted to approved the relocation of the PGA of America's headquarters to Frisco. So,
man,
it was crazy, and a lot of twists and turns along the way, and a lot of times where I thought it wasn't going to happen, and sometimes where I thought it was definitely going to happen. And the association's headquarters being located in the middle of the country. Sort of throughout that process, it was announced that the PGA Championship was moving from August to May. Mm-hmm. Which was another wonderful thing. You know, August in Texas is pretty hot.
Sure.
So, a PGA Championship in August here in Texas would work and has worked in the past. But
May is much better.
Yeah, May is a lot better for a lot of reasons. So, a lot of things happened along the way that were really just sort of almost signs that this thing was going to happen, and kind of one of those signs, which was a crazy part that I didn't even realize till after the fact, but this big ranch that we were looking at that is it's about a 2,000 acre ranch, of which the PGA of America and the folks all developing, our partners, we've got about 650 acres or so of this ranch. Well, the gentleman that owned this ranch was a gentleman by the name of Burt Fields, and the name of his ranch is Headquarters Ranch. How
ironic is that?
I think Northern Texas PGA headquarters and PGA of America headquarters. So I think it was somewhat meant to be.
Man, how excited are your members? They've just got to be ecstatic.
Yeah, they are. I think those that have been around for a while can't believe that it has happened, and we kept it under wraps. Really, the only people that knew what was going on really were our board, and we even kept them somewhat at arm's length at times, just because of some of the details couldn't be disclosed and couldn't be leaked, and the story couldn't come out because it wasn't quite ready to be released. So really, it was just a handful of folks that really knew the details and the intricacies of sort of what was happening and how it was happening. And our members are super excited. Obviously, there'll be a PGA Championship here in 2027. PGA Professional Championship, a women's PGA, a senior PGA, as early as, I think, senior PGA is in 2023.
Wow.
Lots of PGA Junior League championships. So, yeah, it's all the education for the PGA of America and their associates will be conducted in Frisco. So,
and that'll be a lot better than the way
business.
they have it now.
Yeah, much cleaner slate. Hopefully, even more affordable would be hopefully the goal, I would think.
Sure.
Centrally located. A lot of folks will be able to drive versus fly, and maybe the students would stay at the Omni Resort. I'm not sure, but I know there's a partnership with the University of North Texas, so there's tons of really fantastic things going on, and it's hard to believe that sort of it just started out as this urban golf park vision, and along the way turned into this massive project.
That's really exciting.
It was a wild ride. Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I'm so happy that the PGA of America decided on Frisco versus West Palm, because it just brought in so many different people. If you think about West Palm and the demographics in West Palm, most people think, oh, it's older retirees, it's just a retirement kind of place, where Frisco is this young and vibrant and blowing up city that's full of diversity. I just think it's going to help the game so much. I think that's an amazing decision on behalf of the board of the PGA of America. Yeah,
we've got a lot of history in Florida, of course, and it's hard to sort of let go of the history. But you're right, the leadership at the PGA of America and Paul Levy at the time, who was the president, and the officers and all the board, I think they saw what was possible in Frisco, and certainly, others had paved the way before them, whether it was the Stars or the Mavericks or the Rangers or most recently Jerry Jones, and the city is just a can-do city, and they want to do things right, and they've proven that they do things right, and they're a wonderful partner, and to your point, it's a young, dynamic, well-educated, diverse workforce. I think there are something like 20,000 students that graduate every year from one of 7 or 8 colleges in the DFW area, from TCU to SMU to the University of North Texas to TWU, Texas Women's University. There are so many universities here in the Metroplex that are just churning out these super qualified graduates that will only add to our workforce. So, I'm excited. And then, of course, we're in the middle of the country, so
sure,
it's 3 hours to the East Coast, 3 hours to the West Coast, and it'll be fantastic for our members as well. So, it's, to me, from where I sat, it was a pretty easy decision, when you compared West Palm Beach to Frisco, but of course the family piece, the personal piece,
sure,
is real as well, and
a lot of displacement of employees.
A lot of people's lives are being affected. So that's the real part that is difficult and challenging. But other corporations like Toyota or Liberty Mutual or State Farm or Chase Bank or all kinds of folks have moved their corporate headquarters to Collin County, whether it's Frisco or Plano here in the last few years, and they've done so for the same reasons that the PGA of America did. So, and they're much bigger, obviously, than the PGA from a staff standpoint. So, I think when they ultimately, probably popped everything on a board and pros and cons for Frisco versus West Palm Beach, the pros definitely outweighed the cons, and I'm super, thankful and appreciative that they voted to approve the move to Frisco. I think it's going to be wonderful for the association and a game changer down the way. So, and a lot of the economic impact here in North Texas is massive. I think I read somewhere the other day that it's a $2.5 billion economic impact over the next 20 years for the city of Frisco. So it's a big deal here, and all those championships that we just talked about, you couldn't have done those in West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach didn't have the wherewithal or the infrastructure to custom build a golf course that was worthy of hosting those championships, and we were able to do that in Frisco. So I think that also helped with the decision.
Sure, in right dead center of the country. It's just so good for our association, so good for golf in general. I love every decision made, and congratulations, because a lot of people after 5 years of, just going through it would have walked away, and you're right. And Kerry Haig, he holds a lot of weight. I mean, a lot has to go to him as well, and him believing in the project and seeing, because not everybody can see a vision by a plain slate of land, so
Yeah.
there's so many people that had a piece in that decision, I'd say.
Oh, so many. It's just, I mean, gosh, probably close to 100 when you start adding all the people up that had to either invest financially or with incentives or tax rebates, or there's just so many different people that all had to come together and pull in the same direction to make the vision a reality, and they were able to do it. So we weren't giving up here in northern Texas. We knew we were onto something fantastic, and know what the opportunity was, and pretty happy when December the 4th came around and the city of Frisco, officially unanimously voted to approve the relocation. It was a great night, and we definitely celebrated, and although it seems like the hard work is now getting started. I mean, I'm not responsible for building those golf courses or the resort or the clubhouse. I do have some say in what happens with the Northern Texas PGA's headquarters, so we're just getting started on that now. So 2023 with the senior PGA is going to come around really fast. I do know that.
Oh, man, it's going to be like, you're going to look back and about this conversation and be like, wow, that felt like yesterday. It's going to be a whirlwind from here forward.
Yeah, but an exciting one. And
no question. I hope that they're going to do our annual meeting there. That would be amazing. I hope that that's in the works to actually bring the annual meeting there. I think it'll be very highly attended. I think people will be excited. I don't know what the plans are for that, but hopefully it ends up being kind of like our home base, and we, all the members go there every year and kind of make it, kind of a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I can't speak that far down the way, but I imagine that at least initially there'll be some annual meetings that will be conducted there. It just makes too much sense to have the association come to where we're headquartered and let the leaders see and feel and touch what they were all instrumental in developing. So it's going to be I think even bigger than any of us even quite realize and understand at the moment. But it's going to be wonderful for the association and the PGA of America, and we're definitely people are going to know who we are and what we do, and it's going to be huge.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations on all of that. And before we go, I know we're kind of running late on the podcast, but I want to talk a little bit because it is PGA Championship week, and this is all about the PGA. So I just want to say, man, I love the new schedule. We already talked about that with, moving into May. I think it has been everything that we hoped it would be. And so kudos to the PGA Tour for moving the schedule and making it basically every month we have a major now, which is incredible. And then we get into the playoffs. So we have some really exciting world-class fields. But this week we're at Bethpage Black. Have you ever had a chance to play Bethpage Black?
No, I've never played any golf really in the Northeast. So I'll be watching it on TV. I'm not headed up there. But looks fantastic. Obviously, I've watched some U.S. Opens in the past and can't wait to see what it looks like. So I've seen some of the highlights and looks phenomenal.
Oh, that is such a good golf course. So I got to play it back in 2004, I think it was.
Nice.
And it was, man, it is a beast of a golf course. It is all you want. And people don't realize because it's long, but it's a lot of uphills. And people don't realize that. So it plays like 8,000 yards.
Yeah. Gosh, it'll play even longer than that with it being a little wet and a little bit cold. But, I mean, gosh, how about Tiger winning the Masters and rolling straight into the PGA Championship a month later? A little bit like Frisco. It's almost the perfect storm. So definitely a lot of buzz around the PGA Championship. And hopefully our guy here from northern Texas, Jordan Spieth, who grew up on our junior tour, hopefully he can maybe complete the Grand Slam. We're all rooting for that here in Dallas-Fort Worth, that's for sure.
I hope his driver.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope his driver's doing a little bit better than it has been. He's still been.
Yeah,
putting lights out,
he'll be
but
right.
That driver's.
Yeah,
I don't know if this golf course fits the best for his game, but I mean, he surprised us all, man. That kid's got some fire in him. He is definitely a fighter.
He is. He's got about the biggest heart you can measure. So if you can measure heart, I'm not sure you can, but he has it, and we're looking for him to contend this week and be in the mix come Sunday. So we can't wait. If it's not him, maybe it's another one of our NTPGA former junior members. So
do I even need to ask you who your pick is this week?
Anyone from northern Texas, but give me Jordan Spieth all day long.
Yeah, and I was surprised that, I mean, I am so glad to see Tiger back. Don't get me wrong, but I was surprised to see him as the favorite. I would have still thought Koepka would have been the favorite. You know, he's won so many majors in the last 2 years, and he was second at the Masters. This golf course fits him to a T. Oh man, and a lot of the experts, I didn't even see him pick Koepka, which is shocking to me.
I don't know. They must not be watching the same game I'm watching.
Exactly.
Not to mention, I think he shot about 22 under this past week at the AT&T Byron Nelson, so he's going in with some form as well. So if he's not in your top three, I'm not sure. Again, you're not maybe watching the same game that you and I are watching.
Oh, amen to that. He is an incredible player, and he's done what Tiger's done for years, as he's centered his game right around the majors, because that's how we judge people. You know, it don't matter how many wins you have, how many majors you win. You know, so he knows what's up, and that's going to be my pick for this week. I think Koepka's going to get it done, and I think Rory will come in second. That's going to be my 2 picks for this week. So,
okay.
Mark, man, just an absolute incredible story, and I will say you're just a class act, and just learning about you and what you've done, and the fact that you endured it for so long to see a vision and want to see it through. That's what we all aspire to do. So congrats on everything that you've accomplished and everything you've done for the game of golf.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure, and maybe we can have you down here when we get opened up, and maybe we can have a hit together. I would enjoy that.
Oh, I would absolutely love it. I would love to tee it up. I'm only about a 3 or 4, so you're probably gonna take some of my money, but that's okay.
Nah, sounds like we'd have a pretty good game. Par for a golf administrator these days is 80, so anything south of 80, I'm pretty happy these days.
Hey, me too. Well, Golf Nation, another show is in the books. Make sure you follow us on Instagram or LinkedIn at Golf Nation Podcast, or like us on Facebook and Twitter at Golf Nation Pod. If you love the show and you have a question or comment for Mark or myself, you can always DM us on Instagram or email us at comments@golfnationpodcast.com. Next Tuesday, we are back with another great episode with Chris Mason, who is an incredible instructor for LPGA and PGA Tour members out in beautiful San Diego, California. But until then, learn as much as you can, live your life to the fullest, play golf forever. I'm Jeremy Lee. This is the Golf Nation Podcast. We'll see you on the tee.